Hey, this is Mike, and there have been a bunch of changes to TwinSync Studio demo. If you haven't re-downloaded it, I recommend going to the link that you've been given when you request the demo and just downloading it again. It's a different file now. I've already installed and opened it. I just wanted to show how things have slightly changed a little bit and just how you would do end-to-end the export process. And then we're gonna, for fun, add a scrubber in Unreal Engine to scrub through the model just so we can understand the way that the animation works. Because there's two different models for how to animate once you're in Unreal Engine, and I'm going to talk about both of them. So first things first, let's go download our model. So I'm going to hit download and sign in. So you need to give it the access to the public and private networks so that it can send the information from your login back to the app. So let me just do that. Yep, and give it access to the iTwin. Okay, so logged in, I'm going to go to my iTwins. I'm going to go to this guy. And then I just gonna use this one. So what would happen normally is there would be a download that you wait for, and then you'd click on it again once the little progress bar is done. But in my case, I'd already actually downloaded it. So here we've opened it. We can look through the viewer. I'm just gonna point out the new stuff here, which is basically that this export button, if you saw the original tutorial, has gone very complicated. I'm gonna simplify it again in the future. That was just because I'm going to be moving some stuff around before the full release, which is coming. But before I was doing that, I was just adding more options here. And there's actually a better way right now, temporarily, which is to be able to set the settings directly in this advanced export menu. So what I recommend, which is the same thing as this export merge uninstance by elements, conveniently using a different name, uninstance is renamed to single use meshes. I'm going to use this one, the single use meshes with an element. So far, I've seen people put huge scenes through using this. This seems to be the most performant method so far. So I would just go ahead and use single use meshes with an element for your merge strategy, or it's the same thing as this export merge on instance by element. But if you're getting errors using this, just use the advanced export for now. I will do another tutorial with the new way of doing things when it's actually all together. I'm working on a lot of stuff, so once it's all together, then I'll show it off there. You can also do things like set the decimation tolerance. I don't really recommend it, but basically if you hover, it'll show you that if you give it like 0.01, that means that all vertices within like 1 centimeter of each other, because this is 1/100th of a meter, are going to be merged. So I'm just going to set that back to 0. These are good defaults. And then in our case, we set the dataset file for the whole scene, unlike the scripting where you can actually do separate ones, which is one of the things that's going to be in the next release. So yeah, and then besides that, I'm not going to output visibility tracks because I'm going to use primarily the newer non-level sequence based animation mode. Like I mentioned, there are 2 modes. So there's one that uses an animation sequence, and then there's one that just does it all in the plugin. And sometimes the animation sequence or the level sequence can get huge in some of these larger scenes, even with some of the merging. So for now, I just recommend as a default, unless you really know what you're doing, to just not, you don't even need the visibility tracks because we're not going to care about the level sequence really. Okay, so with that done, let's just hit export. I'm just going to bring it here. I'm just going to call it test. Okay, so the percentage complete isn't really a thing yet, but it'll tell us that's still not implemented. I'll definitely have that in the non-demo version. Okay, finished. Great. So now I can go into my Unreal project, which I already opened here. You can just grab a new project and then make sure that you're using an architecture template, because if you're not, you may have to manually go into the edit plugins and activate the Datasmith plugins. So with the Datasmith import plugin, I can just hit import and find the thing that I just created, which is going to be in my documents inside the exports. And I need to test, so let's open that and import it here. All the defaults. One thing that I think I actually forgot to show was I've actually already installed the plugin to my project. So if we go back here and we hit the install plugin under export, definitely going to move that for the final version. You can actually go and find your, in my case, I have it here, but documents, Unreal projects, wherever you keep things, in my TwinSync Studio plugin build. So you basically find your U project and you hit open, and then it's going to go into it's going to create this plugins folder for you if you don't already have it. it's going to create the plugin. The plugin name is also going to change for the non-demo version. So you can just hit open and that would finish installing the plugin. I've already done that in this case. You would have to reopen Unreal Engine if you did that while it was already open. But in my case, I did it before I opened it. Okay, so finally we have the scene here. Great, looks fine. One thing I didn't really point out is that you can actually filter some things out in the scene. So if we didn't want this tree and we went back here, we could have actually gone, to the full version, grab this tree, then hide it. And if you go back to the advanced exports, you'll see there's this checkbox here, filter by viewboard visibility, which is by default true. And that's actually going to mean that since we hid that tree, it actually wouldn't come through the export. So if you have any really large objects, then that's really helpful. And there's even this feature that I'm sort of prototyping that's not really there yet, which is if you hit this color palette, it's going to show you the complexity visualization. So we can see there's some yellow non-green elements that if I hover over them, we'll see there's 652 triangles and this particular geometry density inside this door. So, we would consider that to be something that, maybe we want to understand if it needs less detail. So in the future, there'll be a way to specifically change the angle tolerance and maybe the decimation for these like larger pieces that have a more geometric density, but that's going to be not in the demo version. Okay, so that's just something to understand for filtering. We're not going to do any filtering in our case. We already got this in here. We just want to set up animation. So if I go down to the bottom of this imported, whoops, why do I have two? I think one of them is deleted. Oops. Yeah, this one doesn't really exist, but I'm not going to delete it because Unreal Engine takes forever to delete actors. So I'm just going to scroll down and find my schedule manager. In this case, it's called Schedule Manager 2. I guess I might want to delete, in my case, the first schedule managers just so that they don't interact with each other, because that would be not very fun. Let me do the same thing. Just going to delete the schedule manager at least. Yes. Okay. Then. Oh, did I just delete in the wrong one? No. Okay. So that's the hidden one. Great. Okay. So now we only have one schedule manager. Perfect. So there are two ways to animate things. Either you set this associate level sequence or you do not. It's going to be a little bit easier in the future, but if you set this, then you have to actually create a level sequence. So it looks like I already have one. I don't know why. I'm pretty sure I deleted it, but I'll try that again. If you had visibility tracks or any geometry tracks, then you will get an animation. Right now, so yeah, you get this animation folder and you'll get this level sequence. And you can drop it in, and then you can actually go to your schedule manager and you can say, okay, let me use that as my associated level sequence. And now whatever that sequence does, it's going to copy. So if I go to the sequence and I turn on autoplay and I tell it to loop, then let me open this level sequence just to confirm what's in there. Okay, so all the movement is happening here. Great. If you want the level sequence, if your scene is small enough to support it, or not gigantic, then that's great. Doesn't work for everything, so there's the other option. So now if we hit play, what should happen if my camera is positioned correctly enough is, yeah, it's at the beginning and it starts going. Great. And it's really just listening to that level sequence and looking at the level sequence progress since the level sequence is on autoplay. But we're going to have a second option, which I'm going to go over in a second. Yeah, so I will let this, yeah, good enough. So let's look at the other option. I totally had some changes to the level blueprint that are causing that. I deleted this actor. Let me just get rid of that with a control left click. Great, so now that actually won't execute and there won't be errors. So now the next thing to do is to check out the other animation mode. So the other animation mode is we go to the schedule manager and we get rid of this, associated level sequence, or we never set it in the first place. In this case, what you need to do, and in the future this will be done for you, but you need to make sure that we actually have enabled affecting the real visibility and the real transform of our actors. Because that means that the plugin is going to go ahead and instead of letting the level sequence control things, it's going to actually control them for us. So it is now changing the visibility, it is changing the transform, but this allows you to play the largest scenes. So I kind of recommend it as the default. Also keep in mind that if you really want to do it through the level sequence, Unreal will not actually give you a level sequence, even if I create an empty one. If it's empty, Unreal will just not do it. So Like it just won't actually give it to you. So you would have to create like an empty level sequence and just set it as an empty level sequence, and then the plugin will handle the visibility animations for you. So that's just sort of a weird edge case. I would say if you have that issue, just don't use the level sequence animation mode. Okay, so that covers most of that. The next thing that we want to do, if you want custom materials, by the way, I have a separate video about that. I can link that in the description, or you can just send me a message if you can't find it. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try to set up a scrubber to go through some of the Blueprint API. And really what that means is we just want this schedule manager to be, let's close this guy. We want the schedule manager, basically. We want to interact with it. So I'm going to do, I'm going to set up a custom HUD if I haven't already. So I'm going to go to the world settings, and it looks like I actually set one up already. So let's take a look. Basically, let me go to, it's in here. Yeah, okay. So what I did is I went and I created there's a HUD section, isn't there? Or user interface. Yeah, so I created a widget blueprint. And then I think under game mode, I created a HUD. There's probably a way to search this that I don't know. But don't know why that's deactivating. I guess, well, you can just hit blueprint class and find HUD and also find game mode. But for some reason, I'm blanking on that. Another option, I guess, is just to hit plus for these. So if you hit plus on the HUD class, you basically want to create a new game mode. And I go, yeah, look at my game mode. The game mode is just a data game mode only. All it does is set the HUD class. And then I override the world game mode with that new game mode by setting the one that I created here. Or you could use plus to create it. And then maybe also set the HUD class just in case. I think it's already automatically set if you set it inside the game mode. And then we go inside this HUD, and we're going to basically just attach that blueprint widget that I showed you how to make. So all you got to do is drag out and do create new widget, just like I already did. Make sure that you're using the class, which is the one that we have. So I call it new widget blueprint in this case. Let's give that a better name real quick. Let's call this schedule scrub HUD. That's probably not a great name, but I'll just call it schedule scrub. It's going to be a full screen widget, which is why it's tempted to call HUD there. But yeah, so the only thing we actually have to do is add it to the viewport. So I just selected that, and then it automatically connects everything for me. Great. So yeah, so that does that. And now we can actually go and implement that blueprint. So I'm actually, you know what, I'm going to delete that blueprint and make one from scratch. Yeah, so let's force delete that. And let's create a new one. So user interface widget blueprint. I'm just going to call it that. Yeah, and then I'm just going to call it the scrubber, schedule scrubber. Okay, and I'm going to open it again. Here, and then let's open that HUD and actually fix that issue that we just created. So it's going to be schedule scrubber, and that's the widget we're going to attach. Perfect. All right, so let's see how much I remember of this. So the first thing that we want to do is, I believe, create like a canvas panel as our root. And then we can start putting stuff in there. So I want a slider. Okay. We'll figure that out in a second. And then I also want a button. I'm going to be very basic here. It's up to you to customize stuff. Okay, so these are both just on each other on the screen. I'm not doing any layout stuff. You can refer to Unreal Engine tutorials about how to do that. Let's make this guy nice and big. And then let's also add a couple of text labels, text blocks, which are going to contain the schedule start and the schedule end and the schedule time. So let's call this current date, start date. I'm using F2, by the way, if you're unaware of that shortcut. I'm sure if you click on it, then you can go in here, you can rename it like that. But yeah, so and then this will be play pause, And then slider 61 sounds good enough to me. The only other thing that you need to do is you need to make sure that these are all variables so that we can use them. I believe the text is not going to be because it by default assumes that it's static text. But we're going to change it when we start. Great, so now we can switch from the designer since we've figured this all out. Oh, let me actually add a button here. I'm just going to say, sorry, I don't mean add the button. Let's change the text. Where's the text? Oh, I guess we have to add text into the button. Whoops. Okay, yeah, let's make the button a little bit bigger. And then we'll just, yeah, set that text to just be toggle play. Here, okay. Not perfect, but yeah, fine. All right, good enough for this. So now let's actually check this stuff out. So the first thing we want to do is we want to get this schedule manager that we're talking about. So let's just get, we only have one of them. I deleted the other one and you really don't want a second one in your scene. So instead what we're going to do is we're going to just get all actors by class. What you doing there, Unreal? Okay, get all actors of class, great. So then we can just look for the schedule manager class, which comes from the plugin. Perfect, so now what we can do is we can actually just get the 0th element of that array because we know there's going to be one. If there isn't one, we'll have an error, and that's fine. And then let's promote this to a variable that we can reference. Oh, and really, you're really not happy with me right now. Okay, all right. And we will call this the schedule manager. Perfect. So now that we've done that, let's actually use it a bunch. So there's a scene data. That's really weird. So there's a get scene data, and that's going to contain the get scheduled date time from active sequence. It's not the one that I want to use yet. Okay. Okay, yeah. All right. Sorry for that long pause there. So you want to break the export scene data. And now we have all the stuff that we need, like our start date time, end date time. You can even check the schedule last frame using this for your level sequence. But what we want to do is we just want to set those text fields that we had. So here's our start date. We're going to set text. Not sure why my graphics card is freaking out right now. All right, so we're going to set the text of this guy. And it's just going to be the... All right, so I'm going to use this format datetime simple conversion that I have in the plugin. In reality, what you probably want to do is you want to break the datetime and then use format string. Sorry, format text. Let me try it this way. Yeah, this guy. So yeah, you can use format text to create something where you have like the year and the month with a comma between them or something. And then you update the fields that are exposed, and then you plug these guys in, and then you can have yourself exactly how you want it. Although you probably have to convert like the integer month to September or use a table for that. So that's up to you if you want perfect customization. If you want to do something quick and dirty like me right now, then I'm just going to convert this string that I provide, the string utility, into text and set that. Great. Okay, and now the other one that I want to do is sort of the exact same thing, except I want the end date. All right, so same thing, just gonna copy this guy again. Probably should have used the sequence here, but whatever. Let me just copy this guy, get the schedule date time, end time, sorry, and then set that for this guy. Okay, great. So now we're doing the exact same thing. Okay, so we've set both of those, and now we want to on tick set the schedule time, and then we're going to figure out the slider, which is going to involve using some linear interpolation. So first things first, let's do this exact same thing, but on tick, and using the current schedule time rather than this thing that I just grabbed. So what we want to do now is get our, let's find that variable, schedule manager. We're going to grab him, and we're going to grab the current schedule time. Okay, so there's a get schedule current date time function, and then we just want to do the same thing. We convert that to a date time. Sorry, convert that to a string, and print that in our case. And we also don't want to overwrite the start date. We want to overwrite the, let me look at my variables, the current date. Great, perfect. So then we also want to handle the slider changing. Let's do a play and pause first, actually. So if we go to the designer, we go to the play pause button, we should be able to add an event. So if we have the unclicked event, we're going to add, we click that, and now all of a sudden in the graph we have an event to handle that. So all we need to do is grab our schedule manager again, just copy and paste him, and then there's going to be a play. Let's actually do get is playing, and then we're going to toggle. So let's actually just, because we're doing a toggle and we don't want to do play and pause directly, let's just switch the value of is playing. So set is playing to be not whatever is currently. We want the Boolean not. So whatever is playing currently is, we're going to set it to whatever is not that. So if it's playing, we set it to paused. If it's true, we set to false. If it's false, we set to true. Great. Okay. Perfect. So then that should work. And then the other thing we need to do is set the slider, or sorry, make the slider work. The other thing I guess I haven't really mentioned yet is these Blueprint API functions. So get schedule current datetime will work whichever animation mode you choose. However, and so will this scene data stuff. But this play pause will only work if you are not using a level sequence. If you are using a level sequence, then you have to basically just manage the associated level sequence using its own Blueprint API. So if, for example, you had a level sequence actor reference, and we grab the only one that exists, or use a tag, actor tag or something to get it, then what you would want to do is you'd want to use its own play button. So yeah, there's a play sequence player. So this is how you would do the play and pause stuff if you were using level sequence. You'd have to have a reference to it, which you get using an actor tag or something, and then you would just, instead of manipulating the state of the schedule manager, since it's not actually controlling the animation when there's an associated level sequence, you'd have to change the associated level sequence's state. It's going to be the same thing for when we linearly interpolate where to put things, where to change the animation to when we manipulate the scrubber. So let's go back to the designer and let's take a look at the scrubber, the slider. So we're going to have here, let's see, on value changed is the one we want, because that means that someone has, with their mouse, grabbed and moved around the slider. So whenever the value changes, so this is sort of like on tick, I think, like every time you change it, it's going to happen like per frame that they're still holding it. So we're going to have a value from 0 to 1 here, and we want to convert that to, I'm going to copy and paste some stuff from here, but we want to convert that to where we are in the level sequence. Because in addition to this get current level sequence, there should also be a, let's get the schedule manager again. Just going to drag and drop it. And then there should also be a set schedule date time, which is exactly what we want to do when someone has changed the location in the scrubber. So we just need to calculate that using a linear interpolation from the 0 to 1 range of the slider to the start date time to end date time range of the scene. So what we want to do then is we have the 0 to 1 ratio, and I don't think linear interpolate will work directly. There is linear interpolate lerp. I don't want color though. Maybe it's just lerp. Yeah, so we'll try something like that. I think what you actually can do is literally just lerp these guys. Okay, if you can't, then we're going to do this manually. So let's break the date time. Okay, we don't need those again. We can probably get it as seconds. No. Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just remembering the different ways that you can handle the date times, but I have definitely done this before. So what we want to do then is we want to subtract these. So basically we're going to write our own linear interpolation. So we're going to say, okay, there's a start time. Well, we want to get the range. So that means we want a time span. Date time minus time span. Okay. Can we convert this to a time span? I swear there's a date time minus date time. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to get a time span by saying, let's grab the end minus the beginning, and that's going to tell us the amount of time, the time span from the beginning to the end, basically. So how long is our range? And then, now that we have our full range, we basically want to convert the 0 to 1 to that. So let me remember this stuff. So I don't think we're going to use an actual lerp. I think we're going to multiply. Sorry if I didn't practice ahead of time for this, so I probably could be doing it faster. But yeah, so we have the, this is the range. We just want to convert to that. So we just want to multiply. Since this is 0 to 1, we just want to multiply it by this. So let's see if we can multiply these types directly. No. Okay, so it's interesting. Okay, so that works for some reason. Okay, so what we've done is we've basically set our 0 to 1 range of the slider. Let's convert it to a value between the start date and the end date. And then because of the fact that we've sort of subtracted out the start date, we actually have to add it back in. So we're going to add the start date to the difference that we calculated. Let's do date time plus time span. So this guy plus this guy. It's very confusing that the operators don't sort of work automatically there, but yeah, we figured it out by manually typing the type names into the context menu. Okay, so let's, because it's 0 to 1, I believe this should just work. So we're going to set that, and then we're going to see how this goes. And if it doesn't work, I will re-edit that part of the video. Okay, the other thing that we need to do is schedule manager. Okay, let's try compiling now. Okay, so we have everything. We have taken we've determined the range by subtracting the end from the beginning. Then we have taken this convenient 0 to 1 value, and we have gotten the proportion of our range that's on the slider. So if the slider's all the way to the left, it's going to be a value of 0, meaning that we want to be 0 of the way through from start to end. If we have the slider all the way at the right, we want it to have 1, so that way it's all the way at the full range from start to end. And then we just, since we have the range proportion, we just add that to the start to get the actual location inside the schedule. So that's just us implementing a linear interpolation, and then we set that. So now if I go through here and play, assuming that the HUD shows up, let's see if I didn't, I think I'm using a level sequence technically here. Okay, it's there. All right, great. So as you can see, we are setting the current time. You can see the start date and the end date already. And then I think the one thing that needs to be done is I need to activate the mouse. I don't actually remember how to do that, so let's try to do that here quickly. If not, I'm going to pause and figure it out. Okay, and I'm back. So what we got to do is we actually got to change the player controller class. So I'm going to go and create a player controller class inside my blueprints here. I'm going to go with that default name. And all I got to do is show mouse cursor. That and enable click events sounds good enough to me. Okay, so I'm going to compile that. And now here, let's make sure we're using that. Yeah, the new player controller. Perfect. So now let's hit play. Again. Okay, now we have this thing. So if I hit toggle play, then wow, look, all of a sudden it stopped moving. The other thing that I didn't do is I'm on tick not updating the slider. But if I grab the slider, you can already see you can control everything. So let's just fix that last thing. See, we can just play with the slider as much as we want. great. Let's just fix that last thing. I'm gonna turn this off. And then on tick, we just want to update the slider. So let's go back here. On tick, in addition to what we're doing there, we're also going to grab a reference to the slider, which I'm going to conveniently do here. And then we're just going to look for set value. Whoops. And we're just going to set the value to the current schedule time in the reverse of the operation that we did here. So I'm going to grab this again. So this is going to be a lerp in the other direction now. So I again grab, let me move these guys out of the way. Obviously, if you're doing a larger scene, you probably want to organize your blueprints better than I am. But I'm just trying to do something quick and dirty here to show it off. So what we want to do is we want to get this, we've calculated this range again. And now we want to determine how far we are through it. So now we want to get the current schedule time as well. Okay, so we got the current scheduled date time. And we want to subtract that as well from the start time. Sorry, subtract the start time from it. So start time, we're going to subtract from that. Okay, so that gives us our current time. So to get the proportion, we now just need to, we have the two ranges, basically, of how far they are from 0, since we removed the start time. So now we can just divide them by the larger range. So, all right, so we're going to divide it. That doesn't sound like that would work. Let me think. Time span, we can convert it to seconds, but yeah. Okay, so when, probably should have mentioned this earlier, but when you fail to have the correct operators for the time stuff, you can usually just go down to the totals as a float. So if we get the total seconds of this time span, then now we can operate on this with easier operators. So we'll divide. Okay, so the this is also going to work because the range is not 0, so we're not dividing by 0. Whoops, just deleted the slider there. Let's move that slider up here. So yeah, so we've got our schedule time. So we've got the range that we've covered to so far based on the current date time, and then we've got the range that we've covered, or the entire range, and then by dividing them we get the percentage of the range that we've covered so far, or the proportion more accurately. So that is going to be what we set the value to. So now when I compile and go play, the scrubber should actually start moving on tick as we progress through. Okay, so you can probably barely see it there. Let me try to make my screen much bigger. All right, there we go. Okay, so the slider is moving, and if we just grab it, we can just bring it wherever we want and go back, and we have all the things we need. We got the current time. Obviously, if you did not include these these seconds here, basically, which change very frequently. In fact, let me do it right now real quick. Let's basically make it only show the year and the month. So earlier I was talking about the format text that I was not doing. If I go to, oh, sorry, it's this one, isn't it? So if I just grab this guy and then I think there's a, yeah, split struct pin is the same thing as adding a break node. So what I want to do is I'm going to create the format text and then going to say, oh, but the month isn't converted. I'm not sure if they have that. I'm just going to do this anyway. You have to, I don't know if they have a month converter. I will recommend that. So let's see, return value year, return value month. Just curious. Days and month, yeah, that's not what we want. Yeah, you'd basically have to like create like a mapping or a select. So I actually wonder if you can do it this way. So something like, let's see, string. Okay, so if I make a literal string and I do like January. Yeah, okay, so this actually kind of should work. Yeah, so basically what I'm doing here is, yeah, converting that to the month. So I want to do that here. Let me delete this. let's see if this works. Okay, great. So we put in the string. Okay. So yeah, so then maybe I'll speed this part of the video up, but just say February. Unfortunately, tab doesn't seem to work. March, April. You can skip this part because I'm going to be too lazy to edit the video to not have it. We're going to go all the way up to 11 since there's 12 months. Okay, May, June, July, August. Okay, and then now that it has a type, I can actually get rid of that and just gonna do Jan there. Okay, so now it's going to basically take the value of the month, which is a number between 0 and 11, I'm pretty sure, and then it's going to select a string from that and use that string instead of this braced month here, and then use the year as well. So now if I compile and we hit play, then hopefully we actually get a different string at the bottom, which is going to change less frequently. Okay, yeah. All right, so now it's only changing per month. You probably would want to not have the comma in the string. We could have to change the way that it formats that by default because it's a year. But it's already sort of doing what we want, and if we scrub, then we get to see the rest of the years. I'm definitely missing some year somewhere. So probably, I don't know if January shows up, so maybe it's, yeah, because like it seems like the number's offset by 1 probably. So I guess I'll try to fix that real quick. Also, if you had one more pen, and this would be real December. Yeah, this is the annoying part because I would have to rewrite all those, and I'm not going to do that right now. But if we hit play, oh, it's going to open that in the big viewport. Good enough. Okay, so then we'll have a real December after December. It's perfect date system. Okay, but you see what I mean. So now you can figure out yourself what to do, how to use the data that we covered, how to get, how to format things, and then you can build your own UI and make it actually look pretty unlike this. But all the functionality is there, and everything that I covered, you just use the exact same level sequence API with the exact same logic and the same functions for like setting the current time based on the range if you use the level sequence instead. So that's really all up to you, but all the stuff is there for you to access through these blueprint nodes. So, looking forward to seeing what people come up with, but thank you so much for trying the demo. Hopefully I covered everything. And yeah, I'm working on a lot of stuff, and I will have updates soon, hopefully. So thank you very much. Bye.